It's Women's Month this March, and our special that we will be showing you is going to bring together a number of things. First, art, also that of women economic empowerment, and the principles of how we can support this women's economic empowerment direction under the UN WEPs. It's also about what I do as a social entrepreneur under what we call Great Women Brand Platform. So as a woman advocate who supports this, as an artist and a writer, I want to be able to bring this all together in this special show that will highlight also the artworks from the Yuchengco Museum, a place where I work as a curator, and read to you and annotate some of what I've written in two of my books related to women's economic empowerment. The first one is Women Beyond Borders, which was printed in 2016 by the USAID when we were hosting here in the Philippines the ASEAN 50th year anniversary. And this showed how great women has gone beyond the borders towards the countries of ASEAN. The second book, The Feminine Rising, is my own creative writing published by the Eon Foundation. And here I also talk about how we began Great Women. So allow me now to share with you my creative thoughts as we view beautiful paintings of art. I'm calling this special Women's Month show Women Framed. First, because we're going to take a look at images of women that our artists have highlighted in their paintings. And I'm choosing certain paintings from the Yuchengco Museum collection to be able to explain the role of women and the changes of how artists have seen women through time. Second, Women Frame is also our women today, a lot of them who are caught in prisons of either their minds, of prisons of no power, poverty, as well as prisons of violence, both emotional, mental, and physical violence. So Women Framed has many ideas, many kinds of concepts I'd like to develop around this theme for Women's Month. And the last of what Women Framed is that I believe also is the capacity for us to be ideal and celebrate the power that we have, and that's what we frame. So Women Framed is all about images in art and society of the feminine. Welcome to this show. The changing images of women have always been painted by our artists. Our Filipino artists look to women as a subject matter and, like other artists all over the world, have been inspired by the woman's image as well as try to explain significant messages through the way they depicted women. Amorsolo was known to portray traditional Filipino customs, culture, fiestas, and occupations. But what was unique was for him to be able to highlight the ideal of the pastoral. As far as he can, away from the American colonial rule, he wanted to identify a national template, counterpoint to everything that was colonized. And this is where he began to form that of a Filipino national identity, celebrating the pastoral scene of simple genre images that showcase ordinary people at work and also landscapes of intense, beautiful tropical sunlight. Amorsolo was educated in the classical tradition and aimed to achieve his Philippine version of the Greek ideal for the human form. And this is where the Filipina image of woman came. In the center of his beautiful landscapes, there was always the woman, either aligned with man or with nature, working or by herself in her own beauty, the ideal of the pastoral. Fernando Amorsolo once wrote about this. The women I paint should have a rounded face, not of the oval type, often presented to us in newspapers and magazine illustrations. The eyes should be exceptionally lively, not the dreamy, sleepy type that characterizes the Mongolian. The nose should be of the blunt form, but firm and strongly marked. So the ideal Filipina beauty should not necessarily be white complexioned, nor of the dark brown color of the typical Malayan, but of the clear skin or fresh colored type, which we can often witness when we met a blushing girl. National artist Fernando Amorsolo dominated the Commonwealth period, post-war, of the Philippines. He became the master of the tropical sunlight, known for his sensitivity to the effects of light and highlighting a more romantic touch in all his artworks. Amorsolo infused his paintings with light and developed what we call a backlighting technique, which illuminated his landscapes. In a way, it was a slight chiaroscuro, which was being able to show the intense darkness versus the light, and yet his was that with a subtlety infused by light. In a typical Amorsolo painting, figures are outlined against a characteristic glow and intense light on one part of the canvas that highlights all the details. The Philippine sunlight, that of our tropical land, was a constant feature of Amorsolo's works. National artist Carlos Botong Francisco is considered one of the Philippines' most distinguished muralists. Known as the poet of Angono, he single-handedly revived the forgotten art of mural and remained its most distinguished practitioner for nearly 3 decades. Francisco turned fragments of the historic past into vivid records of the legendary courage of the ancestors of his race. He was invariably linked with the modernist artists and with Victorio Edades and Galo Ocampo would then be known in the local circles as the Triumvirate. But Carlos Botong Francisco had an unerring eye for composition. With a lush tropical sense of color and abiding faith in the folk values typified by the townfolks of Angono, this became the hallmark of his art. Carlos Botong Francisco is also known to have the most sinuously sensual line in all of Philippine art. He created enormous canvases that chronicle the mythical world of the Filipino and its history, often seeking inspiration from tradition, folklore, myths, legends, and customs. He employed bold folk colors, rhythmic lines, and decorative patterns. He evoked the communal life of Philippine gatherings and celebrations. His images were drawn from mythology, legend, and history, and always coming from a sense of nationalist pride. In smaller genre paintings, Botong would paint woman next to her man. In the painting Courtship Ritual, a woman nestles close to a man in the Kalinga way as the man plays a flute just before the tradition of courtship. In Planting in the Mountain, the painting highlights how woman is parallel a partner to her man in the hard work in planting for crops. The genre of portrait painting started with the rise of the Ilustrados during the Spanish colonial era in the late 19th century. This was a class of the culturati and intelligentsia, Filipinos educated abroad. Following them, a new merchant class arose and the wealthy wanted to show their finery as a family, and portraits were the best way to do this. Thus, it became a practice for rich and important people to commission works by the top artists of the period to paint themselves. Fernando Amorsolo was the portrait painter during his time and was commissioned to do the portrait of Doña Maria Hao Tai Yuchengco. He sits her on an armchair, painting her with the stoic look of the Chinese Filipino matriarch. Meanwhile, in Carlos Botong Francisco's double portrait of Enrique and Maria Yuchengco, Maria is now seated as a partner to her husband. Around are symbolic details of the fusion of the Chinoy heritage. Angels now share space with the Chinese lion guardian, with sinewy design forms moving upward as a backdrop to bamboos, signifying one bamboo for each offspring. In this painting, woman is partner and equal to her man as they build family and fortune together. Victorio Edades, national artist, was also known as father of modern Philippine art. He was the bridge between the classical to the modernist school, sparking and leading friendly debates that would set Philippine art towards modernism. His painting The Builders in 1928 portrayed tough, dirty construction workers drenched in grime and sweat. The painting became known as the first ever modernist painting in the country. This portrait of his only daughter, Joan, reflects his expressive approach in capturing the girl and her enigmatic stare. Women and her shadow side. Behind every successful and powerful woman is a shadow slayer. Such journeys to personal power always begin from the shadows defined by doubts, fears, even abuse. They traverse through healing journeys and the intense desire to toughen up to face the world, then to a decision to meet oneself and show up for the work that needs to be done, the healing, the hard work, the learning, and the actual self-actualization. It is a decision to be the main player in one's life and stand up for the rights as a human being. In the Philippines, the loudest voice for human rights and women issues is Gabriela, a national activist network of grassroots organizations, institutions, and programs that fight for women's issues. The modern-day Babaylans also are militant women with a fighting focus on human rights, poverty, globalization, militarism, violence, rape, culture, health, sex trafficking, and censorship. They take it on. The acronym meaning General Assembly binding women for reforms, integrity, equality, leadership, and action. And from the government side, the Philippine Commission of Women carries their advocacy into policy directions. Today, however, there are a lot more groups. A lot of women are joining Zonta, and this is an international organization focused on how to fight for women's rights, especially those who have been sexually abused. There is also now stronger focus on the women's economic empowerment. There is PhilWen, the Philippine Economic Women's Network, and this is all about bringing all the organizations of women groups that are focused on business and helping women economically empowered. The warrior woman is best seen in this painting by Fernando Amorsolo entitled Princesa Urduja. Princesa Urduja was a legendary warrior princess who is believed to have come from Pangasinan and has been since regarded as a national heroine. It is said that her presence was recorded in the travel accounts of Ibn Battuta, a Muslim traveler from Morocco, in possibly 1368 or 1377 AD. This painting shows woman raised in a position of authority, having perhaps won a conquest or talking to her people, but definitely one of a leader and with authority. This is the warrior woman. What is a strong woman? Our world defines strength as a quality that arises from a place of firm determination and a will to succeed no matter the cost. While on the surface we might want to define a strong woman this way, her strength and confidence starts in her capacity to listen to her true self, get in touch with her unique essence as a woman, her insights, and her sense of compassion. Tapping into her inner self allows her to truly demonstrate the depth of her own strength. Beyond multitasking, strong women are balancers. They balance the many responsibilities of work and family, their nurturing hearts and mentoring skills. They balance their personal lives against family and or big careers or societal obligations. The secret to all the exterior activities is that they learn to keep the balance of the inner space with the outer world. If women are becoming more active, assertive, and aggressive as they are empowered in the world, there is a need to be comfortable in and embrace their many sides. The vulnerability of the wounded child inside, the nurturing gentleness of mother, the steady softness of wife, the soft, seductive, playful side as geisha lover, and the core values of inner work that nurtures sustainability. Women's feminine strength is founded on the capacity to keep the balance, clear thinking, the courage to try something new when it offers the potentials for growth, a rational, detached objectivity, and the ability to be independent yet whole. It will find expression in the detailed skills of work and management, in the intelligence, logic, and strategy of creating systems, policies, and structures. The feminine energy will arise also from the ground of our emotional well-being, our compassionate nature, our nurturing hearts, as we take on loving and healing ourselves, our families, and our communities. It is the feminine that will lead us beyond our personal circles on behalf of our children's generation into creating constructive, sustainable changes in that is so badly needed by our world and our planet today. Anita Magsaysay-Ho was a Filipina painter who utilized more abstract and expressive styles rather than realistic approaches. She was the only female member of the 13 Moderns, a group of Filipino modernist artists that emerged in the 1950s in the wake of the clash against a conservative school led by Fernando Amorsolo versus the triumvirate stand of Victoria Edades, Galo Ocampo, and Botong Francisco. Magsaysay-Ho is best known for her subject matter, the slit-eyed Filipino women dealing with everyday issues. You see the happy women performing tasks such as cooking, harvesting, and tending to the farms and children. The women she paints are seen without anger and are not concerned with gender roles or politics, as the women in her childhood were not. Her early work used egg tempera as a favorite medium to paint, although the physical demands of preparing the material later made her shift to use other materials such as oil, acrylic, and even lithograph prints. International data and statistics show that economically empowering women or bringing money into the hands of women can actually help our GDPs rise in the world and take us out of poverty, especially for us in the developing countries. The more we help women, educate them, and become more and stronger in the marketplace, in the economic sphere, these women will plow back what they make into the next generation, and we will find that the next generation's lives will become more humane, the children more educated, their health better, and basically much better lives. The women issues were often categorized under human rights, but we must look at them as real women rights today, because it is all about the feminine rising. And this is what the Great Women Platform has always attempted to do and continues to do, even post-COVID, as we shift towards the digital space and create stronger collaborations. Great Women, the brand platform, is about helping the small all come together, so together we are strong. This is what it is about. Women as the backbone of our economies must be empowered. By stepping into an inclusive, gender-sensitive ecosystem for enterprise, she will be able to move up the value chain by preparing her products and her services under the standards that Great Women sets, global standards that can now bring them into an inclusive business model, depending on the kind of industry they are in. Great Women is a way to bring women forward and allow them to take on their own power. Today, institutional support that is needed to structure the process is open to innovation and change. And this is where we all are. There is no buts or if. We must change. We must create the new norms. And together as women, many small micro-entrepreneurial women coming together, a lot of government support that helps push platforms, a lot of agencies of supporting donors that help with training, all the stakeholders coming together, which we have been doing for the past 5 years, actually more, past 15 years through our other brand Eco Store. All this comes together now with a gender lens under the Great Women brand platform. Woman, as a symbol or metaphor of the motherland, exerts a strong pull on our emotions. Our nation gives birth to and nourishes us, says this metaphor. If she is threatened, we must defend and protect her. For under this female symbol are women, children, home, and land. Such is the case in this historical monument by nationalist sculptor Eduardo Castrillo. Commissioned in the front of the Yuchengco Museum even before the actual event happened, Castrillo crafted his second people power monument entitled The Spirit of EDSA II. In both monuments, the first one in EDSA, the figure of woman known as Inang Bayan, the spirit of our nation, allegorically rises above figures representing civilians that walked in a peaceful revolution against a dictator to give birth to people power. I'd like to end this presentation with the last chapter of the book, The Feminine Rising. The disgust at the state of the world should make us look elsewhere, see new trends arising, see the need to move the other way to balance and to heal the present state. We can use the present catharsis to allow something inside us to flower and to arise in this age of great transition, of great evolution, when an old world has died and a new one is still being born. Each one of us take on new approaches and processes, mindsets, and ways of being. We can build more ecosystems that support the good, green the earth, and address gender disparity. Success, power, leadership, the drive to transform and innovate enterprises, to generate positive outcomes for the greatest number of people can only come from an empowerment felt inside. The mindset shift is an inner change in directions for outer action with the end goal of giving back to half the world's population, her sovereignty, her self-respect, and her economic power. The new model is collaboration, its guiding spirit is sustainability, and its vehicle is technology as a quick reach to the world. That is what the Great Women brand platform is all about. Collaborations, sustainability, and driven by technology, which we are moving into. There, the wind whispers once more, carrying with it phrases and images. Wild women, warrior women, sacred healing circles spiraling, platforms of support, sisterhood and networks, women showing up, women speaking up, women stepping into their greatness. Can we see, feel, embody, and choose to ride the rising wave of the new consciousness? It has a name. It is called the feminine, and it is rising. In 2020, Great Women won the UN Women Asia Pacific WEPS Award, also known as the UN Women Empowerment Principal Awards. This is the first time that the UN Women has given this award. It won as Philippine Champion under the Leadership and Commitment category, Philippine Champion under the Gender Responsive Marketplace category. Great Women also won the Asia Pacific Regional Award, second place for the Gender Responsive Marketplace. The Women's Empowerment Principles, also known as the WEPs, are a set of principles offering guidance to businesses on how to promote gender equality and women's empowerment in the workplace, marketplace, and community. The United Nations Women Empowerment Principles. Number 1, establish high-level corporate leadership for gender equality. Number 2, treat all women and men fairly at work, respect and support human rights and non-discrimination. Number 3, ensure the health, safety, and well-being of all women and men workers. Number 4, promote education, training, and professional development for women. Number 5, implement enterprise development, supply chain, and marketing practices that empower women. Number 6, promote equality through community initiatives and advocacy. And at the end, we must measure and publicly report on progress to achieve gender equality.
Meet Sally, Dr. Tessa, Ella, Lisa, Lara, and Anna. Tulad mo, these women lead very busy lives. Kahit di ganun ka-obvious. Busy sila sa trabaho, pamilya, negosyo, komunidad, at sa personal nila mga buhay. Parang ikaw. Dahil sa dami ng responsibilidad nila at kailangan gawin araw-araw, ginawa ng Malayan Insurance sa tulong ng International Finance Corporation ng World Bank Group ang We Women Program at Stella Solutions. Stella, or simply the easiest life assistant, helps women thrive no matter the situation. Each Stella solution has thoughtfully designed value-added services on top of the traditional insurance coverage. Dahil sa Stella Solutions, kayang-kaya nila mag-multitask. Need help with restaurant reservations to celebrate a special occasion with friends? Stella Shields 24/7 concierge services lets you get things done without breaking a sweat. Sa Stella Family, mas matututukan mo ang kailangan ng pamilya mo. Sa Stella Home, hindi ka mag-aalala kung paano ipapaayos ang bahay mong nasira ng bagyo. Sa Stella Wheels, you can just relax and be stress-free at work instead of lining up for your car registration renewal. Ang Stella Biz Red, ang kapartner mo sa pagpapalago ng iyong negosyo. Ganon din ang Stella Biz Silver at Stella Biz Gold. Stella's just a call away and ready to help 24/7. Para tulad nila Sally, Doc Tessa, Ella, Lisa, Lara, and Anna, you now have the extra hands to take care of your family, possessions, dreams, and yourself. At kagaya nila, ang Stella Solutions ay pwede mo rin gawing BFF, sidekick, o katandem. Stella Solutions are the extra hands you need to make life easy and safe. Call now about Stella Solutions. Visit Malayan websites for details.